So, good morning. Comfort breeds fear. Another session today. 20 years ago, this very situation right now. 8 people behind the cameras doing stuff, observing me, being taped, would have been the absolute horror in my life. I hated to talk in public. I hated it to an extent that I avoided it whenever possible. The story is already well known. People who know me know the story. You can look it up in detail on YouTube. I want to dive right into the fear of presentation. Why the fear of presentation? Because it's a very, very common fear. People know it. 80% of people suffer from it. To stand in front of a group. And I want to ask you, what is the outside of the comfort zone? What is the fear standing in front of a group? What is the natural human fear? These people judge you. These people judge you. And they scan you from top to bottom. And what are they looking for? For the good things, you think? No, 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 no. They're looking for flaws and mistakes. Are you too fat? Are you too ugly? Are you too stupid? Are you not from here? I don't know, something. And they try to find flaws. And believe me, standing in front of a group of 10 people, 10 people find flaws, even if you're perfect. Because if you're perfect, the flaw is that you're perfect. And we don't like perfect people. So you have no chance. People will find the flaws. And why are we so much afraid of people scanning and judging us negatively? What, I want to ask a second question. What are you in this position always, standing in front of a group? I tell you what you are. You are alone. And the fear you have from the group is rejection and exclusion. Exclusion. That the group does not include you and reject you out of this negative judgment. And now again, why are we afraid of negative judgment and exclusion? It's not a problem. A group of 10 people does not include me. What's the problem? Please think about the human being in the last hundred thousands of years, not the last 2,000 years. What did it mean 30,000 years BC if the group excluded you? If a group, by this time 10, 15 people, excluded you, what did it mean for you? Death. It meant death. It meant that you're left behind and you are going to die. So, everybody who tells me that it's an irrational fear of talking in public, I can explain this bridge. And everybody who ever experienced the fear of talking in public knows that it feels very similar to fear of dying. Your heart rate goes up, all your body starts to be activated. You're in a fight for survival up here. You start sweating. So the fear of rejection is one of our basic fears in life. We want to belong. We want to affiliate. I want to give you a recent story from last week from my job. Last week I had 6 workshops in organizational development, and on Monday I had the group, the first line management of a huge or big corporate, and this corporate wants to implement a new culture. The problem they're having that there is slightly slipped in a complaining culture, Sudan in Austria, that everybody's, yes, nothing is working, and the management and nothing is working, and so on. Everybody's negative. And the second day, I had the second line management. And then when I started to work with the second line management, suddenly I felt that this is really true, that there are some apples, some rotten apples in this group who really negatively infect everybody with their negative attitude. And they, of course, create culture out of it. If there are more people negative, and negative is always stronger than positive, they destroy the culture. So I felt the guy in front of me. He's all the time in resistance, lying on the couch like this, not really collaborating. And of course, in my head goes the following question, and I want to ask you the question and give it to you as a present. The right way or the easy way, Sebastian? The right way or the easy way, Sebastian? The right way is to tackle this guy because he's destroying your training with his attitude, with his energy. The easy way would be to make some jokes and ally with the guy and try to get him in with friendliness. I chose attack. And this guy was strong, believe me. So we had a very, very long conversation and even a discussion, even a fight. And what happens with the group? The group separates, yeah, and allies and enemies of him. The allies start to attack me, and suddenly it's not just him, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 people against me. I'm standing there, 4 people at the same time attacking me, that this is not possible, that my attitude towards management is not possible, and that you can influence things, and he says you cannot. And I'm fighting the fight, and I can feel the social rejection. Of course, you don't get any support. Don't count on support. Because believe me, the negative ones will always be louder than the positive ones. So you stand alone. You stand alone and you feel social rejection. And in my head is always the question, the right way or the easy way. And I want you to ask this question to yourselves, the right way or the easy way. Very often, you know, you take the easy way, and it's almost never they are the same. What does it all have to do with comfort? I want to step into the comfort now. Into the comfort zone, not in my comfort zone, into the comfort zone theoretically. I want to quote first, before we start, Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant, a philosopher. He was very critical with mankind, and he said, human beings have 2 basic qualities. 2 basic qualities are, the human being is lazy and coward. Faul und feig in German. The human being is lazy and coward. Also, the animals are lazy and coward. These 2 qualities are designed to do what? To save energy. And animals normally were very smart to be lazy and coward. Because what happened in nature? Let's take a lion. What happened in nature? There are no lions who intrinsically motivated go for a run, even though they don't have to. There are no lions who look for a conflict if they don't have to. In nature, there's always urgency. Urgency means run or die, fight or die. And believe me, if the alternative is die, you all run. If the alternative is die, you all fight. You can see this very simply when people get a negative or a positive diagnosis of some disease. Suddenly, they change their lives in a second. They're getting outside of the comfort zone, stop smoking, start running, start to eat vegetables with the diagnosis, because there's urgency. Change your life or you will die. Now, the thing about the human being is that these qualities are also in the human being. That means you can be lazy and coward. And believe me, in Austria, you can be very lazy and coward because the state takes care of you. You don't need to move. Everybody, especially commercials, tell you, hey, stay inside of your comfort zone, and we have even stuff that makes it more comfortable. How do you overcome these inner qualities, these inner traits of laziness and cowardness? This is the part. And why should you do it? Because a lot of people ask me, why leave the comfort zone? It is comfortable. Here comes the answer. The comfort zone. It's not Czech Republic, it's the comfort zone. The comfort zone, what happens with the comfort zone if you stay inside for too long? Let's say your comfort zone is watching Gilmore Girls and eating schnitzel. What happens if you stay inside for too long? That means I give you now 1 month of schnitzel and 1 month of lying on the couch and watching Gilmore Girls. How will you feel? Terrible. Terrible. The longer you stay in the comfort zone, the smaller it gets. The fatter you become, for instance, the less things are comfortable. Before, going for a walk was comfortable. If you're very fat, it's already outside of the comfort zone. If you before went to the supermarket, now it's already leaving your comfort zone. The comfort zone becomes smaller if you don't leave it. This is, by the way, also the reason why we have so many psychological disorders in the first world countries. Because first world countries make it fucking comfortable for yourself. You don't have to do anything anymore. Drive instead of walk, stay at home. Now you can do home office. Yeah, you don't even have to get out of bed and put on pants. You can stay in your, or naked if you want, every day. But people don't like it on the long run. They like it short term. It's like eating chocolate. Short term, it's great. Long term, it harms you. Avoiding a conflict, short term, is great. Long term, it harms you because you take the conflict to your bed. So the longer you stay in your comfort zone, it becomes your suffer zone, believe me. And the comfort zone becomes smaller and smaller. And there will be the moment when nothing is comfortable for you anymore except being on the couch, and not even this anymore. So when is the comfort zone actually comfortable? The comfort zone is actually just comfortable if you leave it regularly. There is another zone around it, and it's the growth zone. And there is another zone around it. This is the frustration zone. Frustration. You need to find out your growth zone, and I will give you an exercise by the end of this unit that will bring you outside of your comfort zone today. You will feel the pain and the fear today. What is the comfort zone? The comfort zone is where you feel comfortable. For some people, this may be even to be a workaholic, may be the comfort zone because they don't want to think about things. So they stay working, working, working because they don't want to confront themselves with their issues. So it's not an objective thing. Sports is not outside of your comfort zone per se. For some people, sports is necessary because it's comfortable, because through sports, they do not have to stay at home with a wife they don't like, for instance. So sports is not leaving the comfort zone for them. Sports is the comfort zone. Outside of the comfort zone would be going to the conflict that is already glowing at home and confront it, would be the comfort zone over there. So what is the indicator whether you are in the comfort zone or not? The indicator is physiological. How do you feel at the moment? And the second indicator is inner peace. Are you really in peace in your comfort zone, or are you in a very strict and tense way leaving your comfort zone? The one are these comfort zone fascists. They also exist. Yeah, they are telling everyone you need to leave your comfort zone every day. Who do it like this, in this very directive and strict way? They didn't understand it. You do it for yourself, and you're in peace with yourself and with others. How do you leave your comfort zone? You go into the growth zone. I give you an analogy from the gym. Comfort zone is you go to the gym and you talk to the people and you have a nice chat with your friends, and maybe you're just sitting on some machine and doing some little exercise. What's the growth zone? The growth zone means you know your own limits, and normally it's a 10-pound barrel or a 10-pound weight. And you choose to go into the growth zone. That means you challenge yourself over your limit, slightly, not too much, slightly. What does it mean? If you take, for instance, the 30-pound barrel or a 30-pound weight, how will you feel? Frustrated. If you go in too far outside of your comfort zone, there is frustration, but there is this area where you grow. Now I want to ask you, why should you go into this area? First of all, because if you stay in the suffer zone, depression is the result, or comfort zone equals suffer zone. Second of all, you get rewarded with the best feelings in this world. And the best feeling in this world is self-esteem and pride. When you leave the comfort zone, and this is also the reason why I'm standing here today, in spite of the fact, or because of the fact that I was so much afraid of talking in public, I all the time left my comfort zone until it became my job. Because how did I feel at night? I did a presentation, I was sweating, I was nervous, I was really not too good at it, but I intrinsically faced it. How did I feel at night? I felt great. I got rewarded with the best of all drugs. And the best of all drugs is dopamine. Dopamine is the equivalent to self-esteem and pride. So I left my comfort zone. I did a presentation. And then in the evening, my comfort zone was comfortable, because your comfort zone is just comfortable when you return to it. The comfort zone is not comfortable if you stay inside of it. Why do we have so many depressions in Austria? 1/3 of all people, this is statistics, Austria, 1/3 of all people, that means in this room about 4 people, will once in their lifetime suffer a clinical depression in one of the richest countries in the world, in one of the most comfortable countries in the world. Why do you think we have so many psychological disorders in our countries? Because people don't leave their comfort zone anymore. So their comfort zone becomes smaller and they start to create problems where there are none. So what I'm giving you over here is leave your comfort zone and return to it. It's the same like climbing a mountain. When does the beer taste the best? You're climbing a mountain for 8 hours, suffering, and then you go to the hut, to the refugio, and you have your first beer, and this beer is just magic. Why is it just magic? Why is this beer far better than the 5th beer you're drinking without doing anything? Because you earned it. Because you earned it and you left your comfort zone, went into the growth zone, and returned to the comfort zone. Then it's comfortable. How do you find out this area for yourself? Because if you go too far, you frustrate yourself, of course. If you do too much and you don't manage, you frustrate yourself. The solution is expectation management. And today it's a little bit cognitively more challenging. It's not too much fun, it's cognitively already challenging. The solution is expectation management. How can you overcome the fear of talking in public? And here is the key. Do not expect yourself to make or to hold good presentations. This is not the expectation. If you expect yourself to do great presentations, you will be disappointed because you're nervous and you will stutter and you will sweat and it won't be perfect. What is the expectation you need to set? The expectations you need to set is to hold a presentation. Then you will be rewarded. So, once again, because this is very crucial, be micro-ambitious. Micro-ambitious, make baby steps and baby expectations. The expectation is not to hold a perfect presentation because, believe me, you will be disappointed, especially if you're nervous. The expectation is just, I hold it instead of escaping it. That means I could not do it and could tell in the office that I'm sick or I lost my voice or I don't want to do it. And I do it anyways without being forced to do it. And through this, in the evening, I absolutely achieved my expectations. I reached my goal because I held a presentation. I don't care how it ran, but I held the presentation. And through holding the presentation, expectation met 100%. And by expectation met 100%, you get the release of dopamine, the equivalent of self-esteem. You get self-esteem. So the clue to leave your comfort zone is not to set your expectations too high. I need to hold a perfect presentation and feel comfortable with it. You are absolutely in the frustration zone. Believe me, you won't do it. To say, yes, I will hold it, stand here, sweat and stutter, and this is already expectation met. This is how you go into the growth zone. And then you will go home, and your comfort zone will feel more comfortable than ever, believe me. How do you do this? I have another 10 minutes left. So, basic message. Comfort zone is a dynamic thing. The comfort zone grows when you go into the growth zone and shrinks if you stay in the comfort zone, and it becomes at the very end the suffer zone. This is the reason why we have so many psychological disorders in first world countries, because it's too comfortable for the people. They can go fat, they can go lazy, and they hate it at the very end. They love it in the first place, in the second place they lose. And find your growth zone, means find exactly the zone where you're still not frustrated because expectations are too high, and where you cheat on yourself and actually it's not uncomfortable. How do you know that you leave your comfort zone? Pain and fear. It's pain and fear what you feel when you leave your comfort zone. If you don't feel it, it is not leaving your comfort zone. And I'm now going back to the manager who is a triathlete and always says, I'm leaving my comfort zone every day because I'm running for 3 hours. Do you know what is leaving his comfort zone in reality? Stay at home and be silent. Let your soul talk and listen carefully. We're doing these trainings in Colombia and Medellin, and 10 days extreme self-experience. And one of these days is a day of silence. That means nobody may talk or communicate with each other. And believe me, this is the day where most people suffer, because there's a saying, when there is silence, you hear your soul cry. When there is silence, you hear your soul cry. So for many people, sports was just an analogy. It does not mean that sports is you're in the growth zone, maybe physically, but psychologically, maybe sports is your escape. And actually, even though you're suffering physically, psychologically, you are in your comfort zone because you do not confront topics you should confront. Why am I talking about this? Because most people betray themselves. They cheat on themselves all the time. They say, I leave my comfort zone every day because I climb a mountain. No, the motive is the crucial thing. What is your motive? Do you climb the mountain so you don't have to think about your life because it's so miserable? Or do you climb the mountain because it's outside of your comfort zone, you want to grow? One motive, good or bad, and one motive, good. The action itself does not define the comfort zone. This is the most important message. Sports itself is not leaving the comfort zone. The motive and the intention why you do it, and mostly the unconscious one, is the real one. So how do you get to it? And now I have 7 minutes left, and I want to give you a psycho exercise. A psycho exercise where you will leave your comfort zones as well. It's also for you, Alex, for you, and for everybody in the room. I want to explain it to you because it has become my life philosophy as well. Think of something on a scale from 1 to 10. 10 being the most uncomfortable you can imagine. Pure fear, pure anxiety, pure panic. And 1 being the most comfortable you can imagine. So 10, the most uncomfortable you can imagine. 1, the most comfortable you can imagine. I want you now to take baby steps. Be micro-ambitious. Don't start with too big jobs, otherwise you won't succeed. Start with small things. If you think, for instance, if I take the fear of presentation, how much fear does it trigger in you just to think about to do it? Is it a 4? Is it a 6? Is it an 8? And then you set your expectation right. That means the aim is not to hold a perfect presentation, frustration. The aim is to just hold the presentation, growth. So, choose something in your life that for you personally today is at least a 5. Do something in your life that in your comfort zone at least is a 5 leaving it. That means 10 most uncomfortable, 1 absolutely comfortable. I give you some examples because sometimes people have no ideas. I experience, if you want to destroy your career, please start wars by email and put as many people in CC as possible. Maybe the CEO. This is really how you destroy your career. Even if you're right, you destroy your career because it's childish. Instead of writing emails, call the person, or if you're not in home office anymore, visit the person. I give you one of my basic phrases. The worse the situation, the more sensory channels. This is counterintuitive. Most people do it exactly the other way around. The worse the situation, the more sensory channels. That means if we're good, WhatsApp. If we're not as good anymore, call. And if we are really in a fight, meet. What are people doing? Exactly the opposite. If we're good, meet. If we're not as good anymore, call. And if I hate you, write. So one thing you can do already today, call the person you would normally just write an email to. The next thing you can do is public transport in Austria, in Vienna. The bus is not coming, or in 6 minutes. Walk a station. Do something you would never do. This is my appeal to you. Today, do something you would never do. And now I want to tell you why. Goethe said, who doesn't understand this? Die and become is just a gloomy guest on this earth. Wer das nicht versteht, dieses Stirb und werde, ist nur ein trüber Gast auf dieser Erde. Stirb und werde, die and become. This is what I want to give you as a present today. You do something you have never done before, and you become somebody you have not been. Today you have the chance to grow. Grow means leave your old skin behind and grow bigger. And in the evening have the feeling that something is different about yourself. You were reborn, and now we're back at motivation for a second. There is absolute motivation in growth. Most people stop it with 30. They say, I stay comfortable and wait for the exitus now. No, die and become. Do something today that is uncomfortable for yourself and become somebody you have not been before. Calls instead of write an email, walk instead of drive, do a presentation instead of pulling back. And what get you rewarded with? What is your reward? Your reward is dopamine. Dopamine equals self-esteem. This is the great thing. What you get rewarded with, not just that the world goes better if you overcome your fears because you have to eat less of these fears and sleep better. No, it's for yourselves. You wake up and you get self-esteem, and now the circle closes. Why am I standing here speaking in front of you while I was 20 years ago so much afraid of talking in public? I got hooked on a drug, and the drug was dopamine equals self-esteem. When I set my expectations right, I was flying home on the drug. Every time, even if the presentation was shit, I was flying home because the expectation was do it instead of escaping it. And I was flying home, and I got hooked on this feeling. I said, I want to fly home every day. And so I started to become a professional presenter, to start trainings. I'm not afraid of talking in public anymore, but I'm still afraid of social rejection. And this is why I told you the second story, where I'm really going into a confrontation with 4 or 5 people hating me. And today I can bear it. 5 years ago, I would have made a joke just to make it easy, and we are all friends. No, we are not. The right way or the easy way? Do you choose the right way or the easy way? You know the answer. Thank you very much.